So Warren, what's your experience now with keratometry prior to using a toric IOL in your practice?
This was really one of the first surprises that we had with the Lenstar. Those people who know me know that I've been a proponent of manual keratometry for measuring the power difference between principal meridians for the toric IOL for a very long time. And when we were calculating the spherical power of the toric IOL with the Lenstar, we had to get a set of Ks. And what we began to notice was that the Ks for the spherical calculation also correlated very, very nicely with the amount of astigmatism we were looking to correct with the toric IOL. And so we began using those numbers for our toric IOL calculations, and the results were very, very good. Okay.
You know, Warren, using now the toric IOLs, it becomes very important that we have accurate K readings and astigmatism and their axis. What's your routine in taking care of the patient before the surgery so you know exactly where to put this implant and how much to use?
Well, the first thing we do is we get a topographic map to make sure that the astigmatism they have is routine. Then we calculate the spherical power of the IOL, and then we typically go to Javal keratometry to see if the magnitude and axis of astigmatism qualify them for that lens. And one big surprise that we got was with the Lenstar, the keratometry from that instrument was lining up with our Javal keratometer very nicely. And when we went back and recalculated the toric power using the Lenstar Ks, we got a very nice correlation with the astigmatism we were looking to correct at the plane of the capsular bag. So now we're using Lenstar Ks to calculate the power difference between principal meridians for the toric IOL. That was a big surprise. The second surprise was how consistent and how accurate the Lenstar Ks were for calculating the spherical power of the IOL. And even though we're using the Holiday 2 formula, we noticed that our outcomes would tighten significantly when we started using the Lenstar. So that was a second surprise for us.
I had the same feeling that the K readings, it has a very high precision in the measurement, whether it's the repeatability or the reproducibility of the measurements. The Ks are quite precise and reproducible, and that makes a big difference to a point where now I use the Lenstar K readings automatically for my calculations without thinking, not unless there is a major astigmatism. I still do topography for the patients if I'm going to use a toric IOL, but the measurements are fitting in exactly where I want them to be.
For both the spherical power and for the calculation.
For both spherical power and the amount of astigmatism and the axis of the astigmatism. You talked about the Javal. You know, you have to be a little bit older like us to know how to use the Javal instruments, but many younger ophthalmologists have no idea what the Javal is.
Or a little compulsive. Yeah.
Prediction, this is the number right here. Accuracy percent is the number of goods over the total IOL suggested. So we want this to be 100%, right? We want to know if the machine printout says use it, we're right on. Just to review, this is a bad result. This one is a bad result, greater than 0.5. We want this number down to 0. How did we do? If you take the single device as is, how did the Lenstar do compared to the IOL-Master, the Javal, the Atlas, and the Bausch & Lomb? Took the numbers from each of these. The prediction accuracy was 79% on the Lenstar. There was one oops. I'm not excited about that. There were 7 bad outcomes. It chose more lenses than any of the others. How about if we combine machines? You take your first machine and you say, okay, the second machine has to agree within, I tried all sorts of combinations and this was the best, within a half diopter and 15 degrees. So if your second, your third, your fourth, and your fifth machines all agree within this degree of tightness, then I'm going to show you what happens. Now, the suggestion in our office, we've been running 5 machines. Of the 42 options, it only chose 10. It was 100% accurate, but it ruled out all but 10, so that's not a very good one. I said you got to have at least half the options. And here's the list. We'll come back to this list, but you can see we get up to 91%. We're all the way down to 54% with the Bausch & Lomb. We'll come back to this. 91 to 54. I chose the best option with just 2 machines. So I didn't have, if you look over here, the best option is the Lenstar plus the Javal plus the IOL-Master. That's a pretty pricey option, especially if you got more than one office. So I chose the next one down for the Lenstar to look at that. And then I chose the best one for the IOL-Master. Instead of these 3, I chose one with 2. But you can see they're close. But at any rate, to just compare the best IOL-Master with the best Lenstar where you only have 2 devices, you can see we're at 88% versus 77%. I found this interesting. If you look, I ranked them all, and all the Lenstars ended up on the top, and all the IOL-Masters ended up together. The best IOL-Master didn't quite get up to where the Lenstar was. And we will come back to that for a second. I'll let you look and find your own combination that you use and see how it did. So you have the data on a machine, and you filter it with another machine, you do better. But this is the really cool one. If you filter it with itself, you do even better. The Lenstar on this part that's mentioned here in yellow, it gives a standard deviation. It does 5 readings. It takes 5 pictures. And it gives a standard deviation for each of these readings, the flat K, the steep K, and the astigmatism. The IOL-Master does something similar. The IOL-Master only does it on the average Ks. And this number almost never changes. It's really 0. It's really close to 0 on most people. I reworked these numbers every way I could to get the best possible results for both machines. Anytime I did any tinkering to filter out based on consistency with the IOL-Master, it didn't work. The numbers actually ended up worse. So on the IOL-Master, your best bet is to use it exactly as it comes. On the Lenstar, when I tinkered with the steep axis, the power of the axis, it doesn't work. Sorry, the power of the astigmatism, it doesn't work. But when you tinker with the degrees, you say when it measures a degree and it does it here one time and over here another, throw it out. When all 5 readings are really close so that the standard deviation is 3.5, it's better than 3.5 degrees. So remember that number. Prediction accuracy goes up to 95%. And here, it's this number right there. On the printout, when that baby is less than 3.5, you're good to go. So now we're going to go back and look at those other slides and see how well the Lenstar, the selected Lenstar did. This is our group. And that number you want to be 0. That means you exactly gave the same astigmatism as what the refraction was. It came really pretty close. What about the axis? The axis on this was 0.58, almost exactly what we got for our refraction. Reviewing. This Lenstar was chosen not based on our answers. It was chosen based on the machine, how consistent it was with itself. When it said it was highly consistent, it very much agreed with the outcome that we got on our refraction in our cornea, so our cornea case. How do we do with the whole thing? It used 21 IOLs. It had one bad outcome. This bad outcome was 0.56 away, so it's almost 100%. There were no oops. I'll keep that up in case you want to look for your machine, your combination that you use in the office to see how accurate you are. This is each machine by itself. If you had just one machine and you're not going to use anything else. So here's the final take-home point. Your toric IOL prediction accuracy was 95% on these theoretic operations when the Lenstar astigmatism measurement was the most consistent, a standard deviation of less than 3.5 degrees. Remember 3.5. So my message to Tom is, you don't have to measure with 5 machines anymore, Tom. Just make sure that Lenstar deviation is within 3.5. If it's not, artificial tears, take them again. So you might be doing that machine more than once. Thanks.